I'm delighted to be joined by the latest addition to the rapidly expanding team at L M Medilaw, Suzanne Williams. Suzanne, great to see you. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, Ali. Thanks. Nice to see you. How are you
Great.
doing?
I'm good, thank you. I'm good. I'm very much looking forward to our conversation today. So congratulations on joining the team. How's it
Thank
been
you.
the first few weeks and months?
It's been really good. We've been here a couple of months now and I just getting to know the ropes, just learning a different way of working, but really enjoying the work and enjoying getting to know the team here. So yeah, it's been good.
Yeah, brilliant. So we're going to cover all of that because you've got a full career and great experience as a personal injury lawyer. We're going to discuss all of that. But so let's almost start right at the start. What is your route into becoming a personal injury lawyer?
So I think career choice is quite heavily influenced by our upbringing. So I think a big influence on me, Ali, was my parents. My mum, she was a nurse. She worked in care of the elderly. And when I was a teenager, her and my aunt, who was also a nurse, decided to set up a business. They set up a nursing home, um, and they ran that as a business. And that business is still going now. And it's actually my brother who runs the business now. My aunt's retired and my mum retired a while ago from the business as well. But it was very much the family business. We all worked in it. We all paid our dues there. So that was my first job, was working in the kitchens in the nursing home and making the breakfasts and the teas for the residents and serving them their food. So that was my first job. But my mum definitely, she had that caring side to her nature. She was really kind to the elderly residents, and she really believed in providing a really high standard of care. I think I also was influenced by my dad. He was an engineer, so he had that kind of logical brain, alley. So I think I took a bit from both of them. They both really encouraged me to work hard and to go to university. So I think when I was starting out at university, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. I started off doing psychology because that was a really big interest of mine. I was always really interested in what motivates people and what makes people tick. But I think had a bit of a crisis of confidence when I was studying English and psychology, because am I going to get a job at the end of this? There really wasn't a lot of jobs at that time for psychologists. And eh, I really wanted to know that I had a focus and an end goal. So I decided to apply to the law faculty, which was something I'd always been interested in, but hadn't really got the really high grades in my hires that would have got me into law school straight away. After I'd studied psychology and English for a year, I then applied to the law school and I was fortunate enough to get a place that really changed my direction at that time. So yeah, studied law and got my traineeship. So my first job was working in a kind of quite a well-known firm at the time that they specialised in legal aid work. So it was pretty much all legal aid work we did. They had a criminal department and a civil department. I worked in the civil department. And legal aid, so it was all people who were on quite low incomes, coming with, it was divorces, custody disputes, personal injury, employment law. So really like the range of civil matters that a solicitor would deal with. And really, it was a bit of a baptism of fire in that firm. It was a really busy firm, really well known. We were seeing up to 8 clients a day. I had a tiny little office, which was pretty much just like a broom cupboard. And I was seeing all these clients, and it really was sink or swim. It was just, you just had to get the tin on and step up, really, because the clients were depending on you. So it was really um, quite a trial by fire, that first couple of years. But I think it definitely stood me in good stead because I was ready for anything after that. But I also think I might have been a little bit traumatized by it, Ali, because I did take a year out after that, and I did a bit of traveling before I came back and just decided to settle down. So that was my first job. But when after I come back from traveling, there was an opportunity to came up for me to work in a job specialising in personal injury, and that was actually working for a firm that was it was more like an insurer firm. So I would be acting for the insurer, defending injury claims, personal injury claims, a lot of road traffic type claims. And although I found the work quite interesting, I really did miss working with clients and that sort of one-to-one contact with clients. So a position came up in another firm, which was doing the pursuer side of the personal injury, working on behalf of the individual client. And um, that was something that I really wanted to get back to. So I jumped at the chance to do that job. And that was where I really think I found my niche in law. I was working in the serious injury department of this firm that specialised in personal injury. Um, eh, it was really interesting work. It was people with very serious injuries, spinal cord injuries, brain injuries, and it was difficult work, but it was very rewarding work at the same time, Ali, because you were able to, we were, ta- we would be getting advanced payments of damages that would enable us to put in place rehabilitation for clients. So we were able to see the difference that it could make to people's lives if they were able to have a successful personal injury claim. So yeah, that was where I found my niche and worked in that field ever since.
That's a brilliant run through of your. It's very interesting when you talk about the baptism of fire, been in the busy legal aid practice, which was exactly the type of environment that I worked in myself. And it is, it's a steep learning curve because it's real. You're dealing with situations that are people's lives that are very important to them. And you're not, by definition, tremendously experienced because you've just literally started. But that ability to be helping people straight away is, it's interesting when you say moving to the more insurer side, as it becomes a bit remote, really. And it was the getting back to helping clients that got you back into the personal injury work. So that's really interesting.
Yeah, I think you're right, Ali. It was definitely, I remember, as I say, like when I was doing the traineeship, like you say, you're fresh out of law school. You've came from quite a sheltered existence, and then you're thrown into that world where people are dealing with these personal crises every day, and they're relying on you to be the problem solver for them. So it really is it's tough at the time, but it's really good experience.
Yeah. And you learn so much. It's just real. You learn so much. You've got to think on your feet. You've got to, I always used to say, Phil, it's a very interesting point that you've raised. I'm going to research that. It actually maybe was that novel. I just didn't really answer. And then I would go and find out, and then I would obviously go back to them and let them know. Always checking stuff with colleagues, always being very respectful of the work because it is serious work for everybody.
Mhm.
Well, that's great. Personal injury here, client facing, dealing with obviously very serious matters. And we'll talk about your accreditations in a little bit. But can I ask, what was it that attracted you to then coming to work with the team at L M Medilaw?
Okay. I was looking for a change. I had, and I saw an advert for a compassionate and caring lawyer, Ali, and that really piqued my interest because it's quite unusual to see a law firm advertising specifically for someone with those qualities. And at the time that I saw that advert, I was actually just finishing off a qualification that I had been doing part time alongside my job as a counsellor. I had decided to study counselling, and so that was where I had eh, that was the attraction to L and M Medilaw. I was really looking to go in a direction where I could use my counselling skills and my legal skills. And L and M Medilaw has really kind of provided the perfect opportunity for that.
Yeah. Brilliant. It's obviously a slightly different team composition that's building out with the firm. And it's interesting you say that about the advert where it's possibly softer skills that were to the fore in terms of the message reaching out to potential applicants. So it sounds perfect because it's obviously bringing together the different
Mhm.
elements of your interests and your background, psychology, counselling, and then obviously the core personal injury work. Brilliant.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
It just seemed to just all fall into place, Ali, when I saw that advert,
yeah,
and then came in to meet with Elizabeth and Graham, and had a really great meeting with them, and listening to Elizabeth talk about sort of her vision and her passion for what she wanted to achieve with L and M Medilaw, and it was we just seemed to be exactly on the same page with what we wanted to do. So that it was really.
yeah. Well, that's brilliant. I think we all know that Elizabeth is very passionate
Mhm.
about her work, and the team is as well. And obviously, recently awarded excellence in client care, so very client focused. So I can see how it's a perfect fit, actually, which is brilliant. Just going back to your own experience, you've obviously worked in this personal injury environment and you've managed to successfully attract accreditations. Can you just give our viewers, the people watching the video, just an outline of what you have achieved?
So yeah, so I have had quite a long career in personal injury. So I have been doing it for more than 2 decades. I don't really want to acknowledge it's been as long as that, but that is how long it's been. And over that time, really dealt with the range of like the full range of personal injury work you do, road traffic cases, accidents at work, little bit of the slipping and tripping, maybe not so much of that, but also a bit of medical negligence in there. So I really have dealt with, and also going from the very the whiplash cases right up to multi-million-pound settlements for people who have been very seriously injured and maybe aren't able to care for themselves and have to have full packages of eh, carers coming in 24 hours a day. So yeah, over my career, I have dealt with the full range of personal injury cases, and so yeah, that has been recognised by some of the sort of regulatory bodies. I've had the specialist accreditation in personal injury law from the Law Society of Scotland. And I also have accreditations from the Association of Personal Injury Lawyers, which is a nationwide organisation, and so they have awarded me the Senior Litigator accreditation and also the Brain Injury Specialist accreditation, and that's one that I'm quite proud of because that I'm one of only two in Scotland to have been awarded that accreditation.
Congratulations on all of that. It's very good to achieve these things and for it to be recognised as well. And I'm sure, and it's great. It's not just a recognition for you, but it's great comfort for clients as well, where they're able to just easily see the experience that you've got and the expertise that you have. So they're very helpful things for them as well.
Yeah, I
Um,
think you're right, Ali. It is definitely about giving clients that assurance um, that
yeah,
we know what we're doing
yeah,
and that they're in
no,
safe
no,
hands.
yeah, absolutely. It's actually very interesting when you mentioned about the role that you've played with people of really serious injuries and that actually use the personal injury lawyer have looked to facilitate a whole kind of care plan in a sense for them. And you've talked about there being possibly alterations to their home or financial payments made at an earlier stage. And I think sometimes from afar, people, the general public might not realise it's the role that a personal injury lawyer can play. They might think it's much more narrow in terms of actually just like
Mhm.
achieving a financial settlement. So could you tell me just a little bit more about that, please?
But yeah, I can. Those types of cases where people have been seriously injured, there is a code in place called the Rehabilitation Code, which is signed up to by insurance companies and by solicitors. And so what I try to do as a solicitor acting for somebody who is seriously injured is, immediately ask the insurers to engage at a very early stage with the client's rehabilitation. Um, Really in everybody's interest to do that because if a client has a very good outcome, then at the end of the day, the insurer might not have to pay as much money out, which that's in their interest. And obviously it's in the interest of the client to have the best possible outcome and get back to work if that's possible, just to try and get the best possible quality of life for them. So that's something that we try to engage the insurer with at a very early stage. If it's a case that is quite straightforward, or if it's a road traffic accident, an accident at work, if the insurers can see at a very early stage we're going to have to hold our hands up to this, then at least it's some part, whether it's partial responsibility they accept or full responsibility, then what we can do is we can get advance payments, we can get interim payments, and then we can use those interim payments to put in place rehabilitation for clients. Or just depending what the client's needs are, that it might be that they need adaptations to their home. They might need specialist equipment. They might need specialist therapy like physiotherapy, psychological therapy, counselling, all that sort of thing. And we would be working to put that in place for them as soon as possible. We wouldn't want them to have to wait until the end of their case to get the money to do that sort of thing, because by then it might be too late. So yes, so that is a focus in those types of cases where people have been quite seriously injured and they need a bit of help.
Yeah, that's great to hear and brilliant to know, because I think, as I say, many people might not realise, they might think it's an entirely separate discipline that would look after something like that. So that's great, and it reinforces obviously your focus on actually helping people. But there's the legal side of it clearly, and there's knowing the law and knowing the cases and all of that when achieving the correct outcomes. But there's also the wider, bigger picture as well, isn't there? So you mentioned the counselling, Suzanne, and that's obviously an interesting element. You commit time weekly to doing that. So could you tell us just a little bit more about that side of your life as well, please? Thanks.
Yeah, so I did. I started doing the counselling studies about 4 or 5 years ago, I think. I think for me, it was something that I always wanted to go back to. I'd always had that interest in psychology, and it was always something that I thought, I would really like to maybe pursue that and do a little bit more about that. And I think maybe that's the sort of the side from my mum, that sort of maybe that nurturing side that I had that kind of I just wanted to flourish. And so I decided to pursue that, and I did my counselling. So I had to do the certificate in counselling skills, and then I went on and did my diploma in counselling. I found that really interesting because it's just a complete change from law. So when you're studying law, it's all about facts and remembering case law and remembering memorizing statutes and acts of parliament and things like that. Whereas the counselling is just totally different. It's experiential. And you're actually learning by doing it. You're developing your skills. Um, and it's all about developing empathy, and developing an attitude of being non-judgmental, accepting of where your clients are, and being genuine and authentic in the relationship, and providing that relationship that helps the client to be able to feel safe, to explore past experiences that have been difficult that they might have not been able to look at. So that's what you're doing. You're just trying to provide a safe relationship for that client to explore their past traumas. It yeah, so different from law, but also I think it has complemented um, my because it's really helped me to develop empathy. Not that I wasn't empathic before, but
Mhm.
just a different kind of level of empathy and understanding the what it's like to be traumatized. And obviously, as part of my diploma, I had to do a placement. I got a placement in a local college working with students, and just I have really enjoyed that work. I really love the counselling work that I do, and I've kept that on. So I continue to do that on a voluntary basis, just so that I can maintain the skills that I've developed.
That's fantastic, and it's entirely complementary. As you were talking there, I was thinking about how in law, being a lawyer, it can be all consuming, and law is it. It takes up 100% of your time. And it's rare actually to be able to, or to take the step to actually develop out another professional focus and qualifications and things, but they're entirely complementary. And as we see the increase in a move towards trauma-informed lawyering and being that sterile lawyer that maybe is the
Mhm.
cliche of the person who can't relate to the person that they're talking to, is very much in vogue, and I'm sure very much of benefit to both you and the clients.
Oh, definitely. And do you know, the whole trauma-informed law is something that, I only heard about trauma-informed law, which is an organisation which kind of tries to promote people's awareness of trauma. And I only heard about that when I was halfway through my counselling course, and I was so happy to hear that somebody was bringing this into the public eye and raising awareness of, about how trauma affects people. And yeah, really, it's great to see that lawyers are starting to learn to take off the professional mask a little bit and relate to people in a more human way. Um, it's great, a more
Yeah.
compassionate way. It's all to the good for everybody, I think.
Yeah, but they do great work in trauma-aware lawyering. I've again interviewed a number of them, and they're very passionate about everything they're trying to promote. And there's been a lot of engagement across the profession, so which is fantastic. This has all been great. One of the questions I wanted to ask you that probably fits with what we've covered it in everything we've discussed thus far, no doubt. But what do you consider to be the key characteristics that are required to be not just a good personal injury lawyer, but a great personal injury lawyer?
Personal injury lawyers. Yeah, I guess the discussion we've just had about empathy, I think that is a really important skill to have in this type of work that we are doing, because we are working with people who they have suffered trauma, medical accidents, whether it's personal injury, whether you've been in a road traffic accident or an accident at work, or whether it's been a medical negligence matter, then you have suffered trauma, and that's something that needs to be acknowledged, and you need to be sensitive and mindful of that. I think so. I think that is a key skill. I think also you really do need to have very good organisational skills to be a lawyer, Ali. It's my mum would actually laugh at me saying that, with remembering what my teenage bedroom was like, but you definitely need to. There's a lot of information you have to draw in. There's a lot of threads to a case where you need to investigate liability. You've got witnesses and liability experts. You've got your medical negligence, your medical experts, your medical records. A lot of information and the evidence that you have to kind of tie together to make the case. A lot of paperwork and yeah, a lot of you've got your court deadlines and so on. Yeah, you really need to be on top of all of that and be organised to do a really good job. I think communication skills is another one. That's where the counselling skills come in as well. Again, that those active listening skills have been really helpful. Being a good analyzer as well, being very analytical and salesperson. I think that um, is something else that's really a good skill to have.
You meet all of those criteria, I'm sure, with everything that you've covered in the talk so far. Absolutely, yeah. A lot of different skills need to be brought to bear to execute the job well, and a lot of different types of skills and, experiences and qualifications. So congratulations with all of that. Before we wrap up, I was going to ask you the question. You mentioned that you went travelling after your legal aid. You took time out, and guess what? Careers are long, and we need to take the time, and it's there. Where did you go? Where did you go travelling, and what was the best place and why?
Oh, okay. So I actually went to the States and traveled around the United States. I went to, I started in Los Angeles. So I spent 3 months in Los Angeles, and then we traveled up the West Coast, up through Carmel, Monterey, up to San Francisco. Then we took a train ride across the US over to New York. We did the East Coast, Washington, trying to remember all the places we went. So that was a great experience because I had that experience of working in Los Angeles. So I think I would have to say that LA was probably my favorite place, probably because I spent the most time there. And it's a crazy place. It really is a crazy place. And it's got the sunshine all the time. So what more can you ask for?
That sounds, well, what a fantastic trip. What a great thing to do. It's so easy just not to take time to do things like that. Before you know it, the time has passed and you've got commitments and you're busy,
Mhm.
and doing those things becomes a bit of a dream. So to take the time to actually do it is brilliant. And LA sounds fantastic. Sunshine certainly sounds fantastic. Not seen a lot of it here recently.
Yeah, I know.
Um,
I think I could be doing with a bit of that sunshine now.
maybe that's, once you've been in the film a bit longer, maybe you could suggest the opening of an LA office or something. See how
That
that
would
goes
be
down.
lovely.
L M Medilaw US. Maybe there's a TV series in it or something.
Yeah.
Superb. Well, Suzanne, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day to tell me all about your background, tell our viewers all about your background, about you joining a team, why you've done so, you're going to bring to helping clients as part of that team, and just a lot of great information about yourself. Thank you very much, and I'll look forward to releasing this soon on the L M Medilaw YouTube channel. Thank you.
Thanks, Ali. Thank you.